Still in chapter 6 of the Gospel of Mark, and I'm going to crack right into it because I want to look today at one of Jesus' most famous miracles, the feeding of the 5,000. Actually, he does a similar miracle twice. There's another instance, and you'll see this in a few days' time, where they feed 4,000 people with a different number of loaves and a different number of fishes, but it happened more than once on more than one occasion. And there's some things in this miracle I want you to notice. Firstly, that Jesus is able to do things through us that we couldn't possibly do and perhaps wouldn't even dream of happening. We have more potential than we even think about that Jesus is able to use. And often we find ourselves a bit like the disciples did here. We think of kind of a natural idea, a natural solution. We've got to feed them. We can't work out how we're going to feed them. We're miles from a shop. We've got no money. We've got no bread. We've got no food. What we're going to do? Panic, can't do it, impossible. And in the natural, so many things are not possible. But there are times when Jesus has plans for your life that you won't always be able to get your head around straight away. And that only he can do for you and through you. And there's some things that I want you to see here that help us access that. So the first step to seeing those plans of Jesus come about in your life is this: to give Jesus what you have to use for his purposes. To give Jesus what you have to use for his purposes. That might be finances, it might be time, it might be talent, it might be energy, it might be inspiration, it might be ideas, but give him everything that you have to use for his purposes. Ask him what he wants you to do. Find out from the word what he wants you to do. Then commit what you have to doing what he asks you to do. And trust him then to provide what you need to go beyond what you're able to do yourself. So the second step is this: do what he tells you to do. Notice that Jesus divided what was there. The miracle didn't take place. Just read it really carefully. The miracle didn't take place in Jesus' hands. He just broke the bread and the fish, and he divided it between the disciples. And then he blessed it. And he was thankful to heaven. But thankfulness is so important in our life. It's so important to be thankful to God. But when we receive from God, we are blessed to be a blessing. So at this point, the disciples have got their stuff in their hands, and it's been blessed. So we have so much in our own lives where we've been blessed. And God intends us to use his blessing for us to be a blessing to others. And so now we get on to the third step. Trust God to take what you gave and to multiply it. That is, do something you couldn't do. So they trust Jesus. Imagine how embarrassed they would have felt if they've got this little bit of bread and they start giving little bits out and nothing happens. Sometimes we have to trust Jesus way beyond what our head can get us around. So they trust Jesus and they take these pieces of bread and they have faith, they believe. The kingdom of heaven can only get involved in your life through faith. Faith's the key. Believing God and trusting God is the key. And faith takes action. So they start dishing this stuff out. And the result is everyone's fed and there's lots left over. The multiplication took place when the disciples were giving it out. Not when Jesus blessed it, but when the disciples were giving it out. And so we need to act in line with our faith and then see Jesus. And that can sound risky, it can sound crazy, but that's how the kingdom of heaven works. That's where the excitement is. That's where the great adventure is. What is impossible for man is possible with God when we do what he asks and trust him for God for the answer. So here's my question. What might God be asking you to do? Pray to him and ask him to provide and bless what you have. Then take that blessing and be a blessing to others. We'll be back in chapter 6 again tomorrow. I'll see you then.